What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Filmstruck Film Club. I am your host, Carson Higgins, sitting here with my buddy Groot. It's always going to be him and I, baby. We're always hanging out, always watching these great movies every week. And maybe you don't know what I'm talking about, but we are the Filmstruck Film Club, and we watch one movie per week, and you have that whole week to watch it. So watch it at your leisure whenever you like, and then usually at the end of that week, I'll post a video like this, and we'll do the whole thing again. So this month we've been doing films directed by women. It was an idea for March, and it's been a great month of March. We watched Daisies, Vera Chietlova's great Czech New Wave film. We also watched the magnificent Cleo from 5 to 7, Agnes Varda's masterpiece, French New Wave. And then went a little backwards because in February we watched all films directed by African filmmakers and films that were made in Africa. And so there was a special opportunity here because on Netflix there is a film called Atlantics that is directed by Mati Diop. And this film not only won the Grand Prix at the Cannes Film Festival, this film also happens to be the first film directed by a black woman that was in contention for the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, which is like the best picture at the Cannes Film Festival. So Mati Diop kind of came out with her first feature film, this one, and knocked it out of the park. She has a series of short films that are available to check out on the Criterion channel, and I highly recommend it because there is a short film called Atlantics that this feature film, I guess, is inspired by. I watched the short film, and they are different. The main difference being that in the short film, we spend most of our time with one of the men talking about his experience of leaving Senegal by boat to Spain, which we'll get into it in a bit, is quite a big plot point in Atlantics, the feature. However, the feature film is cool because where the short film was mainly about this guy and his story about how he got on the boat, why he went, why he wanted to go, why he still wants to leave, the feature film really deals with the people that are left behind. So we'll get into all of this in a bit. I just want to run over some factoids with you real quick. Atlantics is a very well-reviewed film. It sits with a 96% at Rotten Tomatoes. It also has an 85, making it a must-see on Metacritic. So if you're a Metacritic person, you know, this film's got some pretty high marks. And there was a quote from the Rotten Tomatoes little like blurb, their consensus or whatever, that I thought I would share with you. Atlantics is an unpredictable, supernatural drama rooted in real-world social commentary, and it suggests a thrillingly bright future for debuting filmmaker Mati Diop. And man, oh man, I watched some interviews with her about this film, and she's very eloquent, even though English is very much her second, third, or fourth language, right? I wish I spoke French so that I could sit there and hear her talk about her artistry in her native tongue, because in some of the interviews I feel so bad for her because I know that she's so smart and capable of expressing, you know, her answer to whatever question she's being asked, but just English is kind of far away for her to be reaching for. But she's still very easy to follow, and it was very enlightening checking out these interviews with her talking about this film. It does take place in Dakar in Senegal, which, if you've been following this club, and maybe if you watched us in February, we've watched a handful of films from Senegal. The godfather of African cinema, Ousmane Sembène, is a Senegalese filmmaker, and we watched his film, Black Girl, Once Upon a Time, and there's a new Mandabi film that's released on Criterion as well. There's also a short film that he made called Borom Surat, about a wagon driver. Excellent short film. And also, I felt like there was maybe a little homage to it in Atlantics, but maybe I'm just thinking that because there were some cart drivers in Atlantics. But her uncle, Mati Diop's uncle, is Djibril Diop Mambetey, who is famous for directing Touki Bouki, as well as a film called Hyenas that I really want to see. But, you know, her uncle already is kind of like a very big figure in African cinema and in Senegal. Her father is a musician, her mother's a photographer. She comes from a very artistic family. And it's interesting because her film, her shorts and Atlantics are nothing like her uncle's filmmaking, in my opinion, right? Which is great because I don't know about you, but I don't share like it's not like, oh man, my aunt and uncle made me who I am. Obviously family plays a huge part in who we become in this life. But I almost think it's a little unfair that it's always gonna come up with her and her work that her uncle is this somebody. But man, she really has worked really hard to make her own voice be heard, and I heard it loud and clear. Her feature is spectacular. Let's get right into it. I will say there are some there's all kinds of stuff going on in this movie. It is a love story, it is a ghost story, it is a political film, and at no point do any of these things like kind of outweigh the other in a way that makes it lopsided. It's a very balanced film. One of the things that makes it political is behind the camera, not even what the film is about. One thing I found very interesting about the production of Atlantics is how many women were involved. It's not just written and directed by a woman. The composer of the score is a woman. Its cinematographer is a woman. Its editor is a woman. So this is like a very female-driven film, which also, kind of to come back into what the plot deals with, is Ada, I don't know exactly how, it's Ada is her name, but we meet her after, so at the very beginning of this film, let's just get into it, we meet various men working on a building, and they are upset because they haven't been paid in months, and so they're demanding their pay. One of them, who is this young man who's very attractive, Solomon, he's one of the most vocal members of this group of men who are upset. And then we leave with him, leave the workplace, and then there's this beautiful meet where these two individuals know each other, they're in love. But the way that we meet them, I thought was excellent. It's in the trailer, so if you didn't watch the movie, you've seen this imagery where they both kind of arrive at the other side of a train that's going by, and the ease of the edit where the train car goes by and we see him seeing her, and the train car goes by and we see her seeing him, and it's just very effective. And then by the time the train is all the way gone and they get to embrace and be with each other, it's really nice. There's kind of an instant palpable chemistry between these two. You want them to be together, and then we slowly find out that she's betrothed to another person. She is supposed to marry this guy Omar, who is like a super wealthy happening dude. Gets her an iPhone, he's not so bad, but she's not in love with him. She's in love with Solomon. And there's this whole setup to where she's going to meet up with him that night, and they go there, and of course, so then the film really kicks off when we find out that all these men have left by boat in the ocean in the night to go to Spain, which it turns out, I found out after watching the film, was kind of like this phenomenon that was happening in Senegal quite often for like over a decade. In the 2000 to 2010-ish, whatever, these guys were getting on boats and illegally migrating to Spain to go try and find a better life. Meanwhile, Mati Diop, who was born in France, she's half Senegalese, half French, she was an actress, by the way. I don't know if she will act anymore now that she's kind of like this super happening director, but she's one of the main characters in 35 Shots of Rum, Claire Denis' film. This is not a film I have watched, but I am aware that she is one of the main people. She plays the main dude's like daughter in this film, 35 Shots of Rum. So she's no slouch, right? She is related to Mambetey, Djibril Diop Mambetey. She's worked with Claire Denis, so she's got a nice resume. And quick shout out to the cinematographer, Claire, I don't know if it's Mathon or Maton, I don't know how to say her name, but she was the cinematographer of the year for 2019, because the whole time I was watching Atlantics, I was like, man, this movie is gorgeous to look at. I love how the human beings tend to be right in the center of the frame, and I was like, man, what does this remind me of? It kind of reminds me of a little bit of Moonlight, a little bit of Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Come to find out, Claire Mathon was the cinematographer for Portrait of a Lady on Fire, which also is from 2019, so she just like is the most crushing it cinematographer ever, because there are shots of the ocean in this movie. It's called Atlantics, but there are many shots where just static shots of the ocean, and they're mesmerizing, and the sound of the ocean is very present. Also, like, haven't spent a whole lot of time looking at the beach in Senegal, but like, I wanted to go surfing there so bad. The waves look insane. It's a beautiful beach, and seemingly there's like nobody hanging out on it. I don't know what that's about, but the ocean just is such a presence in this film, and it comes up quite a bit. I haven't even gotten into kind of the ghost element of this film. I'm just so kind of pleased and amazed and glad to have met Mati Diop and her work. This film really is excellent, and Netflix, good looking out. Netflix really does put out some of the best, like, festival awards type of movies, and a lot of them are not in English. Like, two of my favorite not in English movies are Roma and this now, and they are both on Netflix, and it's just great. I do hope that we see a Criterion edition of this film, because it's great. I love that we got to see her short films on the channel, but I would love a hard copy of this movie. It's just a very beautiful to look at film. The score, I have to mention the score, because it's used very sparingly and it's very minimal, but any time that it shows up, I was just like, this is a great score. I don't know how to say her last name, but Fatima, you did great. Proud of you. Yeah, I don't want to kind of go all over the place, but let's just dive into kind of the last bit of this here. The guys that left, that weren't paid, right? They were demanding their pay. And there's this really kind of scary scene where all of a sudden, right, the men are gone, Ada is totally depressed, she's in bed for days, and then there's this one night where, like, all the girls go to the boss's house to demand the money for these men, but they all have, like, whited out eyeballs, and they're all, like, kind of possessed by the spirit of these missing men, and they're demanding the wages be paid for them. And this, like, white-eyed thing of these possessed people winds up kind of happening throughout the film, and it's used to great effect. I mean, it's like you just watch the backs of these women, like, walking, and you just know they're possessed. They're very driven with this kind of one-track mind, and anytime you see them with their whited out eyes, you're just kind of like, oh geez. But it's used very effectively. And then there's, of course, this whole, like, cop element where the cops are trying to figure out who lit this fire, and there's all kinds of stuff going on, but the police element in this film is used in a really cool way, kind of the head detective on the case. He's being possessed kind of by the spirit of Solomon, and through him we are able to kind of have this beautiful reunion at the end of the film, spoiler alert, where it's the cop's body with the white eyes, and there's this wonderful technique where whenever we see the two of them, we see the cop and Ada. And then we also get the shot in the mirror, which is Solomon and Ada. And so anytime you see him in the mirror, it's Solomon, and anytime you see him, like, in real life, he looks like a possessed cop guy. So just like I said, the cinematography, there's so many cool things happening. The performances are amazing. Everything about it, I'm telling you, you must watch this movie. And it's very easy to see. It's on Netflix. Yeah, man, I'm really glad that we did this. I think I don't know what we're gonna watch next, but I will have it up there for us tomorrow. And in the meantime, go check it out. Go check out Atlantics for yourself. And if you have Criterion Channel, go check out our short films. They're really awesome. And then, if you found yourself either confused or absolutely in love, like I kind of was, go check out Mati Diop talking about this film and making this film and why she wanted to make it, why it was, if she felt very drawn to this story and that she needed to tell it, giving her own kind of displaced feelings about, like, I grew up in France, but I'm from Africa, I want to go to Africa, getting to Africa and finding all the people her age are like, I want to go to Europe, and not really understanding. It's like, I've been trying to get back here, and y'all are trying to go where I just was, and it seems to be a theme with her. Very last thing, and then I'll let you go. Her short film, 1,000 Suns. If you have not seen Touki Bouki, it may not like hit you as hard as it hit me. But it opens up. We're following this older man, forgive me. And you slowly, I mean, I recognized him right away, but you slowly realize that this is the main actor from Touki Bouki. And we're seeing him now. And I think it was in 2013. And we see him all the way up until he goes to this screening of Touki Bouki at night. And there's this great scene where there's all these young boys, and he's like, see that guy up there? That's me. And they're like, no, it's not. What are you talking about? You have gray hair. And it's great. But it is also kind of depressing because, this guy could have, should have been a movie star. I digress. Watch Touki Bouki. Watch Atlantics. Watch all of Mati Diop's short films. Watch more films by African filmmakers for African audiences. Learn how to appreciate these stories and these storytellers so that we can all experience it together in a much grander and wider scope. Because I'm telling you right now, some of the best cinema over the next 50 years is going to be coming out of the continent of Africa, and it's because of the floodgates are opening, and we're all going to benefit. So I've talked for too long. I'm glad you stuck around, and give us a like and a subscribe, and you could leave some comments. Let me know what you thought of the film. Go ahead and follow us on Filmstruck Film Club, and from Groot and I to you. Happy film watching. See you guys.